Hey, somebody's got to spray the chloroseptic. You have? Excellent. Good morning, afternoon, or evening. You are listening to the Professional Noticer. Hello, everyone. I'm Andy Andrews. Hey, thank you for making me a part of your week. My purpose here today and with every show we do is to play the part of a best friend or a coach. I want to help you live the life of your wildest dreams by giving you access to the greatest mentors the world has to offer today. The Professional Noticer sponsored this week our friends at Tucker ATV. Tucker ATV carries every make and model of Polaris ATVs and the big Polaris side-by-sides, the Ranger Crew. But you have to experience the showroom. Besides the ATVs everywhere, there are antique displays, beautiful taxidermy, along with an indoor porch that's just unbelievable. A porch swing, comfortable chairs, books, free coffee, and a huge television set. Shannon and Lisa Tucker treat customers like family, which is why folks from 14 states do business with Tucker ATV. The showroom is on Highway 43 North in Jackson, Alabama. Tucker ATV, the small town business with the national reputation. Observations and answers, that's what we do on the Professional Noticer. And of course, you know we love it when somebody comes to the table with both. And we have such a situation today. We have somebody that I have admired for a long time and have gotten to know and has become just one of my greatest friends. I actually call him a little brother. I have like 3 of those, and he is one of my little brothers, and he is much more gifted and talented than I would want a brother to be, because if he really was my brother, I think I might be jealous, because he is a Grammy Award winner, a Dove Award winner. He's a solo artist, and he is also a member of the Gaither Vocal Band. Please welcome Wes Hampton. Wes, how are you?
Hello, Andy. So good to see you. Thank you for having me, and I'm honored you would consider me a little brother. Thank you.
You are. You're a little brother.
You're so sweet. I love you.
You know, I consider you and Jimmy Yeary and Jason Crabb my little brothers.
Oh, man, that's some stiff competition right there. I mean, not that there is competition, but those are 2 incredibly likable guys right there. If you don't like them, you've got a serious problem.
Well, that's what everybody says about you. I mean, we look at you and you're just nicer than everybody else. But you know, you are a dad to 4 boys, and
4 boys, yes,
and a husband to the beautiful Andrea. So, how old are the boys now?
Okay, so we're all about to have birthdays. Barrett is about to turn 18 in February. He's a senior, looking at 3 different colleges right now. We've narrowed it down to 3, and he thinks he knows which one. We're not going to say yet, but we're thinking he knows which one. And then we have Hudson, who is almost 16. So yes, we have 2 drivers in the house. And isn't insurance fun, Andy, when that goes up, when you add your kids to your insurance?
Oh, yeah.
Whew. So we have almost 18, almost 16, almost 13. So Carden is almost 13. And then Sutton, the baby, is almost 12, which is just insane. So Carden actually turns 13 in 2 weeks. So we have
How many of them are taller than you?
Hudson, I think, just surpassed me. So our almost 16-year-old is almost just surpassed me. Barrett is slightly under me. I think Carden, our 3rd oldest, he's gonna trump everybody. I think he's gonna be over 6 feet. I think I'm 5'8". I think Hudson's right at 5'9", and I think Carden's gonna be over 6 feet. He's all legs. It's crazy.
And I think some people might have done a double take when you said that you had an almost 18-year-old, because I've always teased you about how young you look. I think you're 43, right?
I'm 43. Good job.
You're
yes,
43. So that's just you're just now looking like you're eligible for a driver's license. So, I mean,
hey, you know what, Andy? I will take it.
Well, it's a great thing. Now I can imagine when I can imagine when you were in your 20s and people thought you were 14.
That was
something.
Annoying.
Yeah.
It was very annoying. And my oldest Barrett gets that. I said, buddy, it's a good thing. I promise. He goes, oh, he said, it doesn't bother me at all. I mean, he's just so easygoing. He thinks it's great. He's already getting gray hair. And he's 17 and he thinks it's cool. So you talk about a laid back kid. Yeah. Something that Mark Lowry, he might've said this to you, but I never heard this until he said it to me. Because the comment on one night on stage that Bill made about me looking younger, he just turns to me and says, Wes, just remember, Father Time eventually kicks everybody's butt. So just hold on. And I love that. That is so true because one day it's just going to hit me.
That is true. I talked to Bill and Gloria this morning. I was on my way to a dental appointment where I actually got a root canal. And that's today. And the guy was great because it was like no pain. I'm in no pain now. And it was an odd thing because I had a piece of a tooth that came off, and my dentist told me, well, I hope that they'll do a root canal and there will be enough tooth for me to put a crown on, and that's what we hope for. And I said, so why are we? What happens if we can't? He said, well, then we got to do an extraction and a bone graft and a dental implant.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh! I actually was driving to the dentist today, hoping for a root canal.
Oh yes,
right?
Yes.
And Bill told me,
Andy.
Bill told me, he said, Andy, a dental implant, they'll give you a choice of a dead man's tooth or a cow. And I said, seriously? He said, yeah, I've had them before. I said, which did you get? And he said, I asked the dentist to decide and not to tell me. And I said, wow. And then he said, but I drive by fields sometime and I have an urge to go to that salt lick I see.
That's so great. He will just weave this way and that just to set up the perfect little punchline. I love that.
Yeah. How long have you been with the vocal band?
I just surpassed, I feel like a little kid saying this because I'm including half years, but 16 and a half years I've been with the group. I joined when I was 27, Andy. Can you believe that? And I met you, I think, right after I joined. And I literally was a kid. I was 27 years old.
Well, I saw you. I was there the first time you did Oh Holy Night on the Christmas tour.
Oh, yeah.
Why do you say that? Why do you say, oh?
Well, Oh Holy Night is one of those. It to me is kind of the Christmas staple song. It's kind of the big Christmas statement, big blow out your lungs type song.
For a tenor. Yeah, for
a tenor. And David Phelps, as many of you that are watching, David Phelps is one of the greatest tenors to ever live. He's amazing. And that's one that he had always done. So I came in right after David left. I was kind of his replacement. And Andy, I had some really cruel things people would write me, but I learned to let that kind of roll off my back.
Are you serious? Are you serious?
Yeah, I totally did. And I finally had to tell them, listen, y'all, I know David's amazing. I don't do what David does. I do something different. I do my own thing. I'm not here to replace David. I love David. I think he's amazing. I'm a fan. And once I kind of disarmed them and let them know, hey, I'm not here to compete for David's spot. David still got his spot. I'm just here to bring something new. I started kind of winning over these Phelps fans, and now they're they at least pretend to like me to my face. But Oh Holy Night is one of those things that I still get nervous to this day when I sing it because I'm the kind of the one that does it now. And Andy, just a very quick funny story. You may not know this story. This was 2005. Right after I joined, we went to South Africa to do a Gaither Homecoming South Africa taping. They made 2 videos. And Bill springs on me at the last moment. Hey, I want you to do Oh Holy Night. I thought, oh my gosh. Okay. All right, let's do this. So I get on YouTube and listen to David's version, and I learn all the little nuances and think, okay, Wes, you can't copy what he does, but you got to try to kind of make it your own. So we get to the taping. Here's the moment. Song starts. And a little backstory to this. Oh Holy Night originally ended with David singing a D flat. And for those of you who don't know what a D flat is, for a tenor, that's really high. It's really, really high, D flat. So David had it lowered through the years because it's just a little easier. Just a half step makes all the difference. So it was just a C, just a high C. So for that taping, Anthony Berger starts playing. Oh, holy night, the star, the body shine. It gets to this part of the song where it goes, let all that's in us praise his holy name. I hold it out his dramatic name. And the track comes in. Fall on your knees. Anthony starts in the wrong key. Anthony starts in the original key that ends on a D flat. There are two different key changes within the song. So it starts out in lower key, mods. The last mod is where you enter the D flat. So Anthony is in his mind in the original key. So he's playing. So I get to the song and I'm thinking, wow, this feels really high, but I'm still singing it. I can't turn back. I'm singing it. It gets to the part where I hold out the note. This is holy name. They fire the track. The track is in the wrong key. So I hold out this fall on your knees. The track is in a completely different key. It is a train wreck. I am mortified. I just want to drop the mic and run off the stage. But I finished the song and I'm just sweating through my shirt, through my suit. And it is the most humiliating thing that has ever happened to me on stage. And I have it on DVD.
Oh, do you?
I do. And I hope no one ever sees that, but I do have it.
Now, what was the conversation like with Anthony afterwards?
I don't even think he could even talk to me. He felt so badly about it. Now, you know Rory Rigdon. Rory Rigdon used to run in-ear monitors for us. And Rory, was just, he would not let it go. Just killing Anthony, killing me. And it's still to this day, we just laugh when we talk about it. But I do have a recording of that I hope never sees the light of day. So I know you did not mean to get into Oh Holy Night conversation, but yeah. Well,
I think it's kind of amazing to me. Because you're the icon of the vocal band now, and to think that there was a time that the fans were mad at you or something.
Yeah,
that seems odd.
And I had to give it to them. At least they are loyal. They are loyal. If whether they're Guy Penrod fans, Wes Hampton fans, David fans, they're loyal. So I got to give them that. At the same time, I think this is Christian music.
Yeah. They're Christians, and so Christians we're like the only ones who kill our wounded, and
totally.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
hey, he's down. I'm just going to kick him again. Yeah.
Yeah. That explains everything to me. Good grief. And of course, then David came back for a few years.
He did. Yes.
And you guys ruled together. It was.
Man, we had a lot of fun. We really did. We sang together for a little over 8 years. So he came back for over 8 years the second time. So cumulatively, I think he was maybe 9 years and 8 years. I think he's right at 17 and a half years, his total stint with the vocal band. So he and I had became pretty close on the road, became almost like brothers. And, unfortunately now we're not as close anymore because it's kind of, with 4 kids and a family, you just kind of get busy in your own life. And it's just difficult to stay in touch. I don't stay in touch with you like I should or like I want to, but you know how it is. Life just gets busy sometimes, and
But when we see each other, it's like not a day has passed.
Totally. Same thing with Marshall Hall, my best buddy, who's singing the vocal band. fuse with me. You know, it's just we pick up right where we left off. You know, I love that. It's easy,
man. So what is it like? I mean, Bill is he's such an, I mean, to say he's an icon is an understatement, you know, and I've watched him through the years, and he runs a show better than anything that I have. He and Johnny Carson are the best I have ever seen at moving things along and not really having a firm grasp on the pieces as they're coming together, but you know, 30 seconds, a minute before. But I've told people through the years that if there's a Christmas show you want to go see, if there's a live show you ever want to go see, you want to go see the Gaither Vocal Band live, because it's, you know, and I've done a lot of stuff with you guys, and I've been on a bunch of the cruises with you, and as you know, I sit back there with you guys, both shows, every night of the cruise. And I love it, because it's the most energizing thing. And people would look and say, wouldn't you get bored doing that? Wouldn't you get bored? Well, and I have to tell people, you want to see that, because you will see a new show every night, because not only are you sitting in the audience not knowing what's fixing to happen, those guys up on that stage, they don't know what's fixing to happen either.
We don't. People are all, and you're right, going back to the whole Johnny Carson comparison, in anything like it. Bill knows his audience better than anyone. So depending on where we are, there's a stronger Lutheran population here, or Pentecostal or Baptist, whatever. He knows what songs to call. And I do think a lot of that too. He's plugged into the Holy Spirit, just trying to seek out direction and which way he should turn the ship. But he's a master. He is an absolute master
like
at that.
He's like a human iPod too, because he has all these songs in his head. And I have been sitting beside you on the back row, which is where I always sit, because you can cause more trouble on the back row.
Absolutely.
But I have been sitting beside you with Bill talking, and Bill turn around and kind of point to you, and the music start, and you standing up going, what is that song? I don't know what that song is. I don't know what that song is. And have David underneath you feeding you the words, and you're doing it, and nobody knows the difference. It's just astounding.
It is really crazy. Now, thankfully for me, when I came in, I was such a big vocal band fan. So I remember my initial audition, Andy. I went to Guy Penrod's house, and Guy had literally, I bet he had 10 to 15 CDs, a stack of CDs of vocal band tracks. And I knew the repertoire so well because, again, I was such a fan. He kept throwing tracks at me, and I knew every song he would throw. You know this one? Yeah, I knew this one. Yeah. I know that one too. And actually, I learned the a cappella one on the way here, on the way to Nashville. So I knew the stuff extremely well. But even knowing all that stuff, if we rehearse a song once, if we have performed it once, anything is fair game for a concert. So he could call something that we sang 3-4 years ago. In fact, he did that recently. It had been a song that had been at least 2 years since we had sung that song, and he called it. And Reggie looks at me, because Reggie's been with the vocal band for, I think, 4 years now. He looks at me and said, "Man, what's that song?" And I had to kind of say, okay, listen, during little breaks, I was, okay, now this next verse, we sing unison in the first half. And then when it gets to the middle of that chorus, we break it apart. You're on the top, I'm on the baritone. I mean, we have these conversations on stage while the concert's going on. So people always ask, what are y'all talking about up there? A lot of it is that I'm kind of helping coach the newer members who are not as familiar with the older stuff.
Having, I talked to Bill and Gloria a good bit, and, Bill calls me about every week because his son-in-law is named Andrew. And so half those calls are for Andrew, not for me.
Totally.
But I talked to him, and so I'm aware of the changes in the group through the years, and so I've been aware of some of the audition procedures. And so I was especially aware when he was auditioning Todd, but tell, I mean, so, people would think, okay, you audition for the vocal band. What do? You come in and you sing for Bill, and then you sing with the band, and then they tell you yes or no. But that isn't how it is it?
No, it is not.
Because you're auditioning. Bill told me one time, he said, I've been fooled by talent. You can be seduced by talent, but character always shows its face. And so the audition process is for way more than talent. And so tell us a little bit about how long you auditioned and what you did to audition, and just tell about that.
I auditioned for 7 weeks. 7 weeks. And that initial audition was interesting. I did not meet Bill my first audition. I just met Guy. Bill kind of had Guy as his filter. He would filter out the crazies. He would filter out the ones that he thought were maybe difficult or super arrogant or whatever the case may be. So my very first vocal band encounter was at Guy's house. So you think about Guy. I mean, what if I were an axe murderer and I show up at Guy's house to audition? So,
well, he has 8 boys, so you wouldn't have a chance even with an axe.
That is true. So, yeah. And my first audition was about 4 hours of Guy it was basically an interview. Andrea went with me. At the time, we only had Barrett. So Barrett was about 1.5 when I first auditioned, who's now, as we talked about, almost 18. So Guy basically interviews me, sings with me for about 4 hours. Marshall Hall, who was the baritone at the time, he came to Guy's house, and I was freaking out because I was a big fan of Guy Marsh, just huge fan. So I was just thinking, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And I remember thinking, even if I don't get this job, how amazing has this been just to have this time? I've been at Guy's house. I've been singing with 3/4 of the vocal band. This is amazing. So I did that initial audition, didn't hear anything for a few days. And I'm just sweating bullets. I'm thinking, oh gosh, they found somebody else. They've already hired somebody. They're not going to even get back to me. Well, a few days go by. I get another call. Hey, Wes, it's Guy. Can you come back to Nashville? We're going to meet in a studio downtown. At the time, it was Michael Sykes' studio right there off Music Row. And I went to the studio, and that's when I met Bill. Bill was there. Anthony Berger was there. Russ Taff was there. So I wasn't intimidated at all walking into that studio. Could you imagine, Andy? All these musical...
Yeah, Russ Taff's like 8 Grammys and
Yes.
Bill 50 Grammys.
You're exactly right. And then you got Anthony Berger. I don't know if Anthony ever won Grammys. He should have if he didn't.
Yeah, he did. He did.
He was just, freakishly great. And I remember, I think this is interesting. So we were driving to Nashville the very first time, to Columbia, to meet Guy. And I remember telling my wife very clearly, I said, babe, I can't do what David does. I can't sing these songs. And she said, Wes, you let Bill decide that. And I thought, wow. And she's always been really wise, but I thought that was really great wisdom. And so I've kept that with me for these past 16 and a half years. I'm here to do what I do, not what someone else does. So we get to the studio, and Bill has had me do There Is a River with the vocal band. And I think, this sounds really good. I mean, the blend is really excellent, I think, because I was all about the blend of the vocal band. I love the vocal bands the most, not necessarily for soloists. I love the vocal bands who had an amazing group, amazing unison sound, amazing harmonic sound, just great blending sound. That was my thing. I just lived for that. So I knew we had something special with Marsh and Guy. I mean, I thought, this sounds real. I know this sounds good. I know this sounds good. Are there better singers out there? Oh yeah, absolutely. There's 1,000 other singers that could have done my job better.
Yeah, I don't know about 1,000.
Well, well, you're kind, but I did know this, Andy. I was confident that no one else knew more songs than I did, and no one else could blend better than I could. I knew I had those two things. I thought, I can blend, dadgummit. I know I can blend, and I know these songs, and I can hear harmonies. So I knew I had that. And Bill said, now, Wes, do you have a head tone? Head voice, or falsetto. People call it falsetto, head voice, head tone. It's kind of all the same thing. Not really, but kind of. And I said, yeah. And I started just, just doing some of the head tone things. And I could see Bill kind of going, oh. And I think at that moment he realized, okay, I don't have to necessarily do what we've been doing the past 8 years with David, blowing it out every song, night after night. We could do something different here. And that's exactly what he did. We still have moments where we did power ballads, I Will Go On, Worthy the Lamb, It Is Finished, These Are They, still big Gaither standards, big songs, Because He Lives. We can still do all those, with the exception of just one or two kind of David, really well-known David type songs like Let Freedom Ring. So he started painting me as more of this lyric type tenor. And he played, this is what Bill does the best. He plays to everybody's strengths. He looks at you and says, okay, Andy, you've got this talent, this talent, this talent. You're great at this, but you're also a compromise in this area and in this area. So I'm going to play to your strengths, whereas I am much better at you in these certain areas, and I'm a compromise in these certain areas. So he sees the group as a team. How can I make all these compromises and strengths come together and make a really special thing? And I think that's what he's done all through the years with the vocal band, is he's taken everybody's compromises, everybody's strengths, and he's made something special just because he's brilliant at that. He's so good at it.
Okay, so they're your first in the studio. You still got 7 weeks to go. How did this audition play out?
Okay, I'm sorry. I totally got sidetracked. So
that's okay. No, your sidetrack, your rabbit trail was great.
Okay, good, because I tend to do that. So the second meeting was in the studio. Okay, I leave there. We sing a couple hours. I record some stuff. I go into a recording booth, and he has some tracks there. I remember there was, I think, Little as Much. Oh, hallelujah, I have found him whom my soul so long has craved. We did that. So we did several like that. Don't hear anything for a few days. Get a call. Hey, Wes, I need you to come back. Go back to the studio, record some more, sing around the piano some more. 4th week, I don't hear anything. They're on the Gaither cruise, on the Gaither, Alaska cruise, 4th week. I think, okay, I can get a little break this week. Whew. Bill has the office call me at home while he's in a ship in Alaska and says, hey, Bill wants you to go into his studio there in Birmingham, and he wants you to record XYZ songs. And then he wants you to send those to him on the boat. So that's exactly what we did. I went to, at the time, it was Airwave Studio. I'm sure you heard of Mark Phillips. It was Mark Phillips Studio. And I remember Mark was so excited for me. He said, yeah, man, come on in here. And we plugged in the Gaither tracks that they emailed to us, and I recorded a few songs. I emailed them to the Gaither office. They got them to Bill on the ship. And then Bill sitting there, I remember Marsh saying he would call them all to his penthouse suite there on the cruise. And he had however many people in there just listening to me sing stuff, which is just mortifying to think about, but they did. And just trying to discussing, getting everybody's opinion. What do you think of this kid's voice? Do you think he fits in? Do you think he would work well in the group? So it was basically weeks of that. And then the next week, if I recall correctly, I didn't really hear anything. And again, all these quiet moments, you think, oh gosh, they found somebody else. After all this time, after 5 weeks, someone else has suddenly appeared, and they've hired him on the spot. I know it. Okay,
now I'm going to set you up for this, because I want to know, where was the very first time? Now, you're still auditioning, but the very first time you performed live with the Gaither Vocal Band, and you're still auditioning.
Okay, great segue, because that was my next thing. This is great. So the next week, let me set this up. At the time I was working at a large church in Birmingham.
Stop. Anybody who has nerves, anybody who is just kind of nervous about performing or whatever, just listen to this story. All right, go ahead, Wes.
Okay, so I'm over this huge student production at this church of about 15,000. Okay, I'm over the music for the student production. We've been rehearsing for months for this. Teaching the kids all their parts, working with all the soloists. I'm the music dude for this. So the week of the performance, it's this weekend, I get a call from Bill personally, not from his secretary, from Bill on my office phone at church. Hey, Wes, it's Bill. He said, can you get away this weekend? And I thought, you have got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me that the one weekend that I can't be away, you're asking, can I be away? So what do I say? I said, sure. Not knowing if my boss is going to let me. And I remember the word so clearly. He said, if you can get away this weekend, I will make it worth your while. And I thought, well, what does that mean? I'm still auditioning. This is week 6. I'm still auditioning. He's going to make it worth my while. So I go to my bosses. I say, look, guys, I've been teaching these kids this music for months. They know it. For the ones that do not know it, they're not going to learn it in time for this weekend. They all know the music. I had this amazing opportunity to do something with Bill Gaither. I don't know what it is, but he told me he's going to make it worth my while, and I've got to go. And very graciously, they said, Wes, you go ahead. You go ahead and do it. I thought, thank God, because I was going anyway. So I find out my very first performance with the vocal band.
And you're still auditioning.
I'm still auditioning. Was in Anderson, Indiana at the Church of God convention. And my first kind of featured solo I ever sang with the vocal band was Little as Much When God Is in It. That was kind of the song that he introduced me to this crowd. And okay, here's something else. He calls Little as Much. And like you know, Andy, Bill, a lot of times while the soloist is singing, he thinks he's going to say the words along with you before you sing them. So it starts out, in the harvest field not ripened, there is a work for all to do. In the harvest field not ripened, there's a work for all to do. Hark, the master's voice is calling. I'll sing the next line. Gets to the second verse. When the conflict here is ended and our race on earth is run. And I think, that's not the second verse. That's the third verse.
Oh, no.
That's the third verse. He's jumped to the third verse. It's not time for the third verse. So instead of singing, when the conflict here is ended, like he said, I say, does the place you're called to labor seem so small and little known? It is great if God is in it. He will not forsake his own. That was the second verse, and I sang it. I made the judgment call, and I could see him smiling because he realized, okay, this kid knows his stuff. And I sing the song. It goes well. The next night, I find out we're getting on a private jet, and we're flying to New York City, actually the next morning, to sing at the final Billy Graham crusade.
You're auditioning, and it's a Billy Graham crusade.
I'm auditioning at the last Billy Graham crusade. This is the last crusade he ever did. New York City. From what I hear, the numbers were between 250 and 300,000 people I had to sing in front of. I was, Mandy, I was terrified. I bet I went to the bathroom 10 times before we hit the stage. I was exhausted emotionally, physically. I mean, but at the same time, so excited and so nervous and so thankful. And we do a couple songs. We do Singing with the Saints, and we do a really high song called I Pledge My Allegiance. Gosh, such a high song. And I was praying, Lord, just help my voice not to crack. Help me just to hold on to the note and my vocal cords to stay together and not slip and crack. So evidently I did a good enough job, because a week later, he calls and he invites me to join the vocal band. And that was in May of 2005.
Wow.
Technically, it was July when I heard back from him. I started auditioning in May, but July the 9th is when he called me on my home phone and asked me to join the vocal band. And here I am,
never
still
heard
singing with
of
him.
anybody having that kind of an audition experience.
It was strenuous, but Andy, it was so exciting though. It was so exciting every step, because I thought, I'm continuing to progress in this. I don't know how many guys they're looking at, and this is what's interesting. I asked them at the very end of all of that, when I finally got the job, I said, so how many other guys are we looking at? They said, none. So if I would have totally just messed up that final audition, totally just screwed it up, they would have had to start all over with somebody else searching again.
Wow.
And it was interesting, Andy, because I had tried to do some solo concert stuff a few years before and got so frustrated and so discouraged because I couldn't get bookings anywhere. I remember even calling churches and saying, hey, can I come do a free concert? You don't have to take a love offering. Nothing. Just let me come and sing. Nothing. And I think God was teaching me all during that time to be content. He was teaching me contentment in where he had me, in my job, in my life, and all of that. Because I went to school to be a doctor. I was a pre-med major. I was sitting in UAB at my third year, because I went 2 years in Nashville. My wife and I got married in 98. We moved to Birmingham, where we still are. Went to UAB, big medical university, and sitting in class, and God said, get up. I don't want you to do this. And I thought, what in the world does that mean? What am I going to do? I'm going to be a doctor. So I totally take this right turn and get a degree in psychology and music, of all things, not knowing what I'm going to do, but thinking, God, okay, I don't know what you're doing here, but okay. And I've been on staff at Brook Hills for, I think, 5 years full time, because I started out as an intern making $50 every 2 weeks. And then I went to part time, and then I went to full time in 2000. And 2005 was when I got the opportunity to audition. And it just literally came out of the sky. It was amazing. It was something that I always dreamed of doing, never thought was possible. But
you know,
and
then I guess put a bow on that Billy Graham experience. You guys sang at his funeral.
We did. And that to me, even more than the Last Crusade, that was probably, because I get asked the question all the time, what is your most memorable, what is your favorite singing experience or venue or location? And I say that has to be the biggest honor professionally for me, is singing at Billy Graham's memorial service. That was amazing. And not being political, but just looking out and seeing the President of the United States right there, 15 feet in front of me, watching us. Vice President Pence. You've got Ben Carson right over there. Condoleezza Rice. You've got all these highly, highly influential people. And I remember, though, I wasn't nervous. I wasn't nervous at that funeral. It was the worst of all singing conditions. It was freezing cold underneath the tent.
I remember watching you guys live.
Oh, Andy, it was so cold. And so the breeze was just blowing through the air. There's no sun because it's under a tent. And they have these terrible monitor wedges, 2 of these tiny ones. And I'm used to singing with, these in-ear monitors. You get spoiled using these things. And, terrible microphones. I remember thinking, what a privilege. What an amazing opportunity I've been given to do this. And just said, okay, guys, these are some of the worst singing conditions possible. Let's get out there. Let's kick some tail. Let's do this for Jesus. Let's do this for Dr. Graham. So that's what we did. And it was amazing getting to be a part of that. It was just crazy.
Well, I've watched you the whole vocal band career, anyway, and I've told you this before, but I want to tell you in public, you were incredible when you started, but knowing that the voice is a muscle and it can be, grown and finessed, and I mean I have been, because I kind of come, I hear you every 4 or 5 months live, and I am constantly blown away at how much better you get. I mean,
oh man,
it's unbelievable, and so to have a little brother like you who has literally sung all over the world, and Carnegie Hall and Madison Square Garden, and and Rockefeller Center and the Kennedy Center, and everywhere that you could possibly, anywhere that is great, you guys have been there. At the Mabee Center in Tulsa, the big arena there in Tulsa, I was walking backstage and seeing all the people that had been there and the date, that they've been there. And there's the Bee Gees, and there's Elvis and Kenny Rogers and
Andy Andrews. Andy Andrews' face is on there too.
Yeah,
cool.
I know.
I'm sorry,
but they put mine down like around the molding on the floor. but the dates are up there, and then there's you guys, the Gaither Vocal Band, and I think I counted 32 different dates under that.
Yes, I heard while we were there. And I think this is including the trio as well, the Gaither trio. So back in the 70s, but they are the Gaithers as a whole are by far the most frequented group there. They've sung more there than anyone else has, which is pretty cool.
And so that's and it's the same at arenas around the world. It's the same, and with Bill and Gloria being, the thing I love, the statistic I love telling people is there's the, ASCAP is the music licensing thing, and that's for airplay, for record sales, for sheet music, for DVDs, for videos, for everything. And the ASCAP Songwriter of the Year is like the PGA Tour Player of the Year. It's the money winner. It's the one who has had the most. And to see Bill and Gloria Gaither as the ASCAP Songwriters of the Century. When you're considering in there, that's Billy Joel and that's
Elton John, all those guys.
Everybody, and their songwriter of the century. Oh my gosh.
It's incredible. Over 500 songs. Over 500 songs they've written. Well, I'd probably say close to 600 now. Over 600 songs that they've written now. Since
look at the people who have recorded them. Elvis has recorded his stuff, for God's sake.
Yes. And in fact, you may know this, but the only Grammy that Elvis ever won was for He Touched Me, a Bill Gaither song.
Really?
Yes. That's the only Grammy he won.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it was for that album that had, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought the album was called He Touched Me. I could be wrong, but I know that he recorded He Touched Me and it won his only Grammy.
Wow.
Yeah.
How incredible is that?
Yeah.
Well, buddy,
cool.
you're still a youngin', and you have a lot of stuff ahead of you. And here I've been talking about this all the time. Before we go, I have to ask you. I mean, you're a double threat because you also are a chef, and I don't just mean you like to cook. I mean, you're a chef. You've got cookbooks and stuff, and we want to put those on the show notes. And Polly, sometimes I'll ask Polly. I'll say, "What are we doing for dinner tonight?" She says, "I'm making something out of Wes's book," and so
I love it.
But how did you get into that?
When I was going to UAB in between classes, I remember the little apartment that we were in off of Highway 280. And I had all this time to burn. And I remember turning the TV on because at the time we were on quite a budget and we didn't get many channels, but one of the few channels that we got was Food Network. And I turned it on just kind of in the background. And I found myself watching it. Have you ever found yourself watching QVC? And then you look at the clock and it's 30 minutes later and you're still watching it? Maybe it's just me.
I can honestly say, no, Wes, I have not watched QVC.
Well, I have, Andy, and let me tell you. No. Well, but that's what happened with Food Network. I started watching, and that's when they actually used to have cooking shows. Now it's all competition and reality stuff, but they used to have really cooking shows. And I remember thinking, this is so fascinating. This is relaxing. This is so interesting. And Andrea was the cook when we were married. And I remember she was making spaghetti, and I went into the kitchen and started messing with it. And she came back to the kitchen and goes, did you mess with this? Yeah. I just added just a little something to it. And she eventually realized the kitchen was becoming my domain, and she was not mad about it. So cooking just became a hobby. It became something that I thought was fun, relaxing. It was just a hobby. And I started cooking, and I screwed up a lot of things. I cooked a lot of terrible, terrible things. But then I learned through all of those terrible experiences. So I became better and better and better and better. And I just started reading and watching interviews, watching cooking shows. And I took some culinary classes. And before I knew it, I had all these recipes that just accumulated. And my father-in-law said, "Wes, you've got all these recipes lying around." He said, "Why don't you just make a cookbook to have for concerts, to sell for concerts?" And I thought, that is a brilliant idea. So that was the birth of the first Recipes cookbook, were just things that I had developed. And it grew from there. So I've done 3 cookbooks so far. I'm working on another one now, but it's just stuff that we enjoy cooking here. I mean, Andy, you remember that tres leches cake that I made at your house?
I was going to ask about that.
I think you ate half of that.
And I hid the other half so that I could eat it without any competition.
So good. I have a massive sweet tooth, as you do as well. So I just love it. And I thought, why not turn something that I'm passionate about, that I love? I always heard, find something you're good at that you enjoy and make a living doing it. So that's what I tried to do. Not that it is about the money, because I mean, I would cook whether I made a cent or not, because I love to do it. In fact, after Tulsa, Andy, we got home Sunday, we were exhausted. We got 2.5 hours of sleep. We left the Tulsa airport at 6 a.m. And I got home that day.
Yeah, I was on that flight.
And I cooked a pumpkin bundt cake because that's what I wanted to do. That was relaxing. So I made it, and it was awesome.
I'm amazed that you and Andrea and the boys are so slim. So. Oh
man. But I try to save all that bad eating for Sunday. So there you go.
Hey, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you,
I
Andy.
love being around you.
Likewise.
And your family. Just anytime I can, and if Zoom is the best we have, then I'm going for that. And I appreciate you being a guest here on the Professional Noticer. I'm sure everybody loves it as much as I do, and we're going to put all your links and how to get to you and to get your music and everything.
Excellent. Thank you, Andy, so much. This has been so fun. I love you.
Thank
you so much for having me a part of this.
Absolutely. Love to your family.
Likewise. Take care.
I'm Andy Andrews, the Professional Noticer, harnessing common sense and wisdom to plow through challenges all the way to an answer for you. And I think that'll do it for this week. Get us out of here, Matthew. So, ladies and gentlemen, and to the boys and girls who aspire to become ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of another episode of the Professional Noticer. In a world where common sense has become a superpower, I'm harnessing that tiny bit of mental energy I have for you. Seeking wisdom, making observations, and endeavoring to answer tough questions in a way that will empower your family and your business. I'm Andy Andrews. Until next week, goodbye. This episode of the Professional Noticer was produced by Matt Limpert. The Noticer theme written and performed by Sugarcane Jane. Catnip lozenges provided for the cast and crew by Twinkle and Smoke of Beverly Hills. Additional financial consideration provided by easilyoffended.edu. Are you lonely when your feelings are hurt? Do you have a hard time expressing yourself? Are you offended by being asked if you had a hard time expressing yourself? We are here for you and for others just like you. We are easilyoffended.edu, a website owned and operated by tenured university professors who seek to pour gas on every spark of anger you feel. Yes, we believe that morality is a personal choice. Yes, we believe that plants are people too. Yes, we believe that all animals have a right to end-of-life services. Every species, especially deer, should be afforded hospice care with a morphine drip. And yes, we believe that fishing is cruel to worms. In other words, we are just like you. And because we are right in everything we believe, we also believe that in the spirit of making sure everyone is tolerant, we are able to force everyone to believe as we do. Also alert to the possibility of opposing views, we at easilyoffended.edu pledge to tolerate riots and destruction, even physical attacks on others, until their beliefs come into line with our own. Join us and learn how you can help others learn to be easily offended at easilyoffended.edu.